And now joining me here on Ukraine This Week is retired General Rajmund Andrzejczak, the former chief of the General Staff of the Polish Armed Forces. Thank you, sir, for joining us.
Big pleasure.
Now, we've seen the recent delay in assistance package for Ukraine. We've seen the problems that's caused on the front lines. We've also seen more than 2 years at war since the full-scale invasion of Ukraine. In your opinion, what does Ukraine need to win this war? And what does victory look like?
Well, I just been a couple of weeks ago in Kiev, and I remember my first visit when I was talking to the former Chief of Defense, General Rajmund, and there was a long soldier-to-soldier discussion about the definition of victory and how to do it. So he gave me some kind of a definition that we can describe as the victory will be if the Russia is not ready to be back again. And he told me, you know, they will be back again. Historically, we know it very well. So it means that the building geometry, Russia is not able to invade Ukraine again. We need a victory. We need territory back to Ukrainian. We need the guarantee. Otherwise, Ukraine will still pay 50% of GDP for defense, but not 2 or 3. So it sounds very much simple. And that was his description he gave me, and I asked him for permission to use it publicly in Poland. So time is running, and I'm back again in Ukraine talking to Ukrainians, very much frustrated and not so optimistic. And they say, why are you asking me about definition of victory? Because once we're presenting how we see, you say no way. So that's the big problem, because it's very simple from a military perspective how to win a war. You have to be successfully, operationally, strategically, tactically. So the long-range fires capability we deliver to Ukraine are already in the possession of Ukrainian armed forces, but there is no permission to use it. And the way it will be effective and mean deep strikes into territory of Russia, and that's the biggest problem. There's more problem should be solved by us, not necessarily by Ukrainians. It's the same, aviation, F-16s, HIMARSs, and an entire list of combat systems. So it looks like we have too much hesitations, and we're supporting Ukraine enough to fight, but not to win, which is a huge difference.
Still a big lack of political will?
Absolutely, absolutely. And so about the performance of Ukrainian armed forces, about the structure, decision-making process, the planning, they are okay. I don't see any challenges, but effectiveness, engagement, the system delivering capabilities to the Russian army to the front, deep fires, destroying the infrastructure, critical infrastructure of production, with the coordination of sanctions will be the most effective system, not separately, sanctions, but no everywhere, and then not allowing Ukrainians to engage targets when they should engage.
In terms of hardware or capabilities, is there something that the West can do, the West can provide, that would be a game changer?
Strategically, if you look in the history, there'll never be example that one single Wunderwaffen, won a war. In the Second World War, everybody knows legends about the German Tiger tanks or V1, systems, or in the history, telegraph or railway and so on. And the end of the day, is still economy. It's money. It's human potential, and of course strategy. So I would shift a little bit discussion from sensors and effectors and certain combat systems as a game changer. I would move to the strategy, political will, leadership, good decision in the proper time, but not good decision but too late.
President Zelensky said that the West is very much afraid of a Ukrainian victory and a Russian defeat. Why do you think the West is so afraid of a Russian defeat?
So you ask me as a Polish. So from a Polish perspective, we have a completely different. So we are not afraid. This is our strategical objective. Russia losing is our strategical objective. And Poland is a great example. How should we behave? I mean, from the very first day, we delivered, combat system, tanks, APCs, artillery, also the helicopters, airplanes, and so on. We received 8 million Ukrainians with no limitations. So Poland, and then plus our investments in the industry, 40% GDP, 300,000 army. So it's difficult to say. Probably this message was not to Poland, but some other countries.
Right. But if you've dealt with the Americans a lot. It seems like the Americans are still undecided politically whether they truly want. I've been saying this for a long time.
Yeah,
I'm sure you've observed it too.
Polish perspective is very much focused on the main threat, which is Russia. This is the Polish eastern flank and as well the NATO perspective, because Russia is direct threat, and we see what they're doing every day in Ukraine, and not only Ukraine. Mm-hmm. From U.S. perspective, they have very much complex, geometry. They see the China, they see the Taiwan, they see the Israel and Gaza, and everything is some kind of a concern of how to invest still the same resources to the certain geographical areas, and in a proper timeline. So that's the friction of interest, and we should not criticize each other, but rather sit down to the table and to ask ourselves how to understand, how to help each other to solve the three big problems at the same time.
President Zelensky has also said that NATO should use its anti-air systems to defeat Russian missiles over the territory of Ukraine. We saw this incident just a few weeks back of, just briefly, a Russian missile crossing Polish airspace. The decision was made not to shoot it down. Should Poland, looking at threats originating out of Ukraine, potential threats, should Poland shoot down those missiles?
We have two dimensions. One is very much military and technical. So technically, militarily, it doesn't really matter when you see the target on your radar and you engage a target. For missile, crossing boundary is absolutely far away from consideration. But politically, it matters. It's completely different once we engaged from a territory of NATO, another target in a territory of non-NATO state. So this is a question to mitigate the risks, because Poland is taking much more strategical risks right now today, being in the front line, comparing to other countries. So again, we are inspiration for other countries how to approach to the security, but we also asking about understanding of balancing the risks we're taking, and so from a military perspective, it wouldn't be complicated, but from political perspective, all the implications is extremely difficult. But I'll give you some inspiration. We have a more than 2 years war, and in the very beginning, sending tanks to Ukraine was absolutely far away from imagination. It was escalatory factor. If we're sending tanks, Russia immediately pushed the button, and the Iskanders are flying and engaging targets in the territory of NATO. We sent, nothing happened. The same was with the HIMARSes. There was a secret weapon, too difficult, too advanced, and too escalatory. HIMARSes are, working in Ukraine. Patriots, and the F-16s. If you look back in the relatively strategically short perspective, which is 2 years, F-16s in the beginning was unthinkable. So maybe think unthinkable should be a good policy for at least intellectual exercise, and then finally, political decisions.
And ultimately, it is a political decision. Well, General Rajmund Andrzejczak, thank you very much for joining us on Ukraine this week.
Dziękuję.